I want to start with this hold that you've put on these nominees, because, of course, Democrats have been pushing you and the colleagues of yours that you lead to do more to oppose President Trump. Is that what this is?
No, this is an issue of outright bribery and a serious issue of national security as well. To let any foreign country donate, quote unquote, a 747 that is the presidential plane, Air Force One, that's the most sophisticated plane in the world, more than any other plane. And there are huge security issues if someone else donates it. In fact, if this happens, and I pray to God that it doesn't because it's such a security risk, they'd have to take apart the entire plane down to the screws and nuts and bolts and see if any listening devices were implanted in it. So it's a huge national security issue. It's an issue of bribery. This is probably the biggest, I'm certain, it's the biggest gift, quote unquote, that has ever been given to a sitting president. And as your person said there, not only is there no free lunch, there's no free Air Force One.
I think I was saying it was my mother who frequently told me that.
Well, I'm glad to quote
no
your
free
mother,
lunch.
Casey. She's a very wise woman.
Thank you very much, Senator. So bottom line here, though, it doesn't seem like anybody could actually stop this from happening. Is there anything you can do to stop it?
Well, you've heard even on your show, there are a whole lot of Republicans who are worried here. I hope they're worried about the bribery issue and the relationship that Trump has. You know, there's something called FARA, Foreign Agents Registration Act, that already this Justice Department has weakened. Who are the other Qatari agents here? What relationships have they had? What offers have they made to Donald Trump, to members of his family, to members of his administration? So there are so many issues here that I hope, we've already heard some Republican congressional people talk about how bad this is, and I hope there are some serious people within the administration who take our national security seriously who will tell Trump he can't do this. But it's outrageous. And by putting a hold, Casey, we'll be able to debate it, we'll be able to vote on these nominees, and I think the more sunlight that's brought to this issue, they didn't want to make it public, the greater the public outcry there will be, and hopefully that will persuade this administration to not do this, not only dumb idea, but dangerous, dangerous idea.
Senator, I want to ask you also about what's been going on in the Democratic Party. You, of course, have come in for no small amount of criticism from members of your own party. I'm going to speak later in the hour with Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who's talked about do-nothing Democrats, politicians, pundits. Do you think that he was including you in that criticism, and is there any validity to it?
All I know is that Democrats in the House and the Senate are fighting this new reconciliation bill tooth and nail. It's the largest Medicaid cut in history. If it happens, 14 million people will lose their health care between this and ACA. Many more will pay, their premiums will go through the roof. Rural hospitals, local hospitals will close. Many, many will be thrown out of work, and many, many more will not get health care. So we are together. We're on our front foot. We're fighting very hard on this issue, and that's why the Republicans are having such trouble putting their reconciliation bill together. We're fighting on this. We're fighting on Social Security. And then finally, when you realize they're cutting Medicaid, cutting health care, going after Social Security, all for tax breaks for the billionaires, it's outrageous. And the public is on our side on this issue.
I do hear the Democratic messaging that you always say that the Republic is on the side for. Sir, I really do want to ask you about something that has been breaking out of CNN. Our Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson have written a book called Original Sin, and they call it a cover-up of Biden's health and his cognition and his fitness, quite frankly, to be president of the United States. You sat next to Biden in the Oval Office, February 27th, 2024, just a handful of months before the president took that debate stage. And it was later reported that you and other Democratic leaders were talking before the debate about having a plan. You and Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama. I understand you later denied that that ever happened. But I am curious, I'm interested to know whether the man that you saw sitting there on that couch on that day, you were in there, you saw him up close and personal. Did you really not have any idea that he was not fit to serve a second term?
Casey, we're looking forward. We have the largest Medicaid cut in front of us. We have the whole
But
federal
you're
government
facing all
at
of this
risk.
because you lost a presidential election. And is that not Joe Biden's responsibility for deciding to run again?
We're looking forward.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. Senator Chuck Schumer, I know you got to go. I appreciate your time today. We'll see you soon, I hope. Thank you.
Take care.
All
Bye-bye.
right. And our panel joins us now. CNN political commentator Jonah Goldberg, the host of the Chuck Toddcast, Chuck Todd, Democratic strategist Paul Begala, Republican pollster Kristen Soltis Anderson, both CNN political commentators. Chuck Todd, go.
He is among the people that are responsible for this. The leaders of the Democratic Party, the staff of the White House. And I have to say, I find everybody now talking to these authors, get out of here. Go home. You're part of the problem. Now you tell us? So I find, the reason why the Democratic Party has less credibility today. Here's an unpopular president, and the Democratic Party has a worse rating than the Republican Party with this catastrophic governance that we've seen over the last 120 days. And yet, why is the Democratic Party in worse shape? Because of this distrust, because of this, frankly, what the public feels as if the party leadership let them down and let this happen. He's as responsible as anybody else. He was a leader in the party. He could have said something sooner, and he didn't.
I don't know. I thought Chuck Schumer was a voice of youthful vigor and energy, who brought the new perspective to politics. No, look, I think there are a lot of journalists, Alex Thompson and our colleague Jake Tapper, contrary to a lot of stuff you see on Twitter, we're actually pressing on this stuff very early on. But there is a problem with sort of just saying, oh, the Democratic leadership is responsible for this. There was a lot of pushback in a lot of the media also saying, why are you making...
There's difference in media, though. Joe Scarborough is not a journalist. He is a defender.
Fair.
Right? Pundits were defending because they didn't want to lose their access,
Yeah.
okay, to the White House. Journalists were getting essentially stonewalled.
Yeah,
by
no,
this.
look,
the actual journalists who are doing the work. So that's where I want to draw a line, because I do sort of resent this idea that somehow it's the media's fault that Joe Biden ran for president. Ultimately, it is Joe Biden, the West Wing, and the Democratic Party who created this disaster.
That's all fine, and I'm happy to concede it's more complicated and nuanced than a lot of people want to make it out to be. It's also just worth pointing out, like, this was not, I mean, and Kristen can speak to this better than I can, this was not a secret to the American people. It was coming up in polling.
People see with their own
for a
eyes.
year. Everyone has someone in their family who struggled with age or infirmity. They saw it.
It's not about the number. It's about where you are as a person.
Yeah, and so, like, there's this weird sort of like wagon circling that I think is just very weird going on.
And I remember the day after the debate, a lot of the talk was, well, was this just a bad night, or was this Joe Biden's in trouble? And there, even after that debate, was this real attempt to say, well, it was just a bad night. Well, it was just a bad night. Where poll after poll after poll that I was seeing was saying, America is screaming, this is not just a bad night. This is exactly who we worried that he was.
Paul Begala, our viewers know you so well, and they know that you have been in these rooms where it's just you and the candidate and probably members of the family, right? And decisions like one to run or not, they are incredibly personal. There is an incredible amount of pressure to protect the principal, to protect the family. I am really interested in your sort of understanding of how the personal dynamics drove what happened here, because Biden himself was so motivated to beat Donald Trump. He really was convicted he was the only one who could. And in the reality, what ended up being that he was the one that was going to lose the worst to him, even though he's still not convinced of that to this day.
Right, that was the only vote. First off, I'm looking forward. Looking forward to reading Jake's book, because I want to know what the hell happened. I want accountability, and I appreciate what Chuck says. I kind of feel that way, but it's not really accurate. Okay, it's Joe Biden's decision alone. You know what worked to get Joe Biden out of the race before that debate? Nothing. Okay, my partner James Carville every day was on TV screaming. Our colleague David Axelrod every day on TV saying Biden was too old. You know what effect that had? Nothing. That, God bless him, that Irishman just dug his heels in.
Why didn't anybody run against him, though?
Because in all of American history.
I mean, Dean Phillips did. I went to New Hampshire with Dean Phillips.
In all of American history, you know how many people defeated an incumbent president in their own party? None. Teddy Roosevelt, the greatest politician who ever lived, tried to do that, and he'd already been president.
Well, they drove LBJ out of the race.
He drove out his one. They drove Joe Biden out. They didn't defeat him. Running against him wasn't going to work. Punditing wasn't going to work. I love Joe Biden. This is entirely his decision. And I don't, people trying to blame like the First Lady or pundits. Or
So you
something.
blame
No.
Biden at the end of the day?
Yes, and it was a catastrophe. I think he did great things as president, really great things, historically great things. But the choice to run again for the exact reason I suspect, I didn't talk to him, I think you're exactly right. I think he fell for the kind of president-itis that he thought, de Gaulle said the graveyards are filled with indispensable men. And he thought he should have looked at Nancy Pelosi. I think the greatest speaker in American history. She handed off the gavel. A new generation took over. The earth turned on its axis. The Democrats did just fine.
And now they're not speaking to each other.
It's a tragedy. Nancy was right. Joe was wrong.